Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming.
Rabbi Bendory I'd like to invite Rabbi Bendory to come up.
Anything that's in my ear.
Thank you, Frank. Hashem, our God, like our founding fathers, we acknowledge our subservience to your authority. We ask for your guidance as we gather today in support of the cause of liberty. We stand together, awed by the responsibility you have laid before us, to carry the banner of freedom and to preserve essential liberties for the next generation. May we be worthy of the task. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, guide our elected leaders in wisdom as they struggle with the challenges of our age. How did our culture become so corrupt? How did we become so enamored with violence that a murderer of innocent children achieves fame while his silent victims are forgotten? How did our politics become so misguided that the responsibility to defend oneself and to protect one's family is a pawn in a political game between left and right, rather than right and wrong? Harachaman, compassionate one, may we never come to see the strife of conflict in this land with which you have blessed us. May we never see tyranny in our borders. Hashem Kelokim, Almighty God, may you bless and protect our friends and family in uniform, both those who are with us here today and those who are no longer with us. It is their patriotism that keeps us free. May we be worthy of their sacrifices. I would like to acknowledge one such man in uniform who planned to be here today but is not. Marine Art Burton died earlier this week. He was a good friend to many of those here and to many who will be speaking today. And he was a soldier in the fight to restore our rights as protected under the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Art exemplified so many of the values that we believe in and that we stand here today to represent. He was not only a Marine, he was also an instructor for civilians in the defensive use of firearms. He was a giving person with a heart of gold who loved to teach and loved the people that he met, teaching about firearm safety and civilian self-defense. He was a responsible citizen. The word no was not in his vocabulary. He was loyal and faithful, a man who would do anything for his many, many friends, an inspiration to all who knew him. Hashem Natan, Hashem Lakach, Yehi Shem Hashem Mevorach. The Lord gave him to us, the Lord took him away. May the name of the Lord be blessed for all eternity. Please join me as we bow our heads in a moment of silent prayer. We remember Art. We remember all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom and liberty. And we pray for the safety of all who stand proudly in defense of us and our country. Thank you. May God bless our soldiers. May God bless America.
On that note, I'd also like to announce that the leaders, the board, and of the NJ2AS and myself have decided to, we are going to dedicate this rally to Art's memory. And in addition, we've established the annual Art Barton Achievement Award, which will be given out once a year to the member who has contributed the most to the missions and goals that Art Barton kept close to his heart. So we will keep his memory going forever. And all those of you who knew Art, who had a chance to meet him and to share some time with him, know what a wonderful person that he is. We will always remember him. And those of you who haven't, we'll tell you. We'll let you know who he was. So stick around. This is the beginning, folks, okay? I just want you to know that this rally is the culmination of nothing, okay? This is just the beginning. We've gathered together here primarily not for the press to see us, not for the legislature to see us, not for the governor to see us, but for us to see each other. Take a look around. I mean, seriously, take a look around. This is, I mean, the only thing, like I've been saying, the only thing that could happen would be frogs and locusts could be, falling from the sky.
That'd be warmer.
Or tongues of fire or something. But we'd still be here, right? If there were tongues of fire falling from the sky, we'd be here with flame retardant umbrellas. All right? So, and because we have something that we have to talk about. We have to talk about why it is that the people who are supposed to represent our interests in the state of New Jersey do not believe that we can be trusted to keep a defensive firearm on our person to defend our lives and our families when they mostly have somebody looking out for them. Why is that? Okay? So I ask you, that's right, that's right. Because they are hypocritical, because they do not, they think that for some reason they're in a different class than we are. And I saw a sign here before, there is no protected class. There's no protected class, we're all the same. We're here as individuals, okay? We have our own thoughts, we have our own beliefs. It's not like we're of one mind on all issues. But the one thing that we are united in is our love of liberty. So I ask you to keep that in mind and understand that that is what the Second Amendment is all about. It's about maintaining our liberty. And as long as, I said this before, as long as the balance of power stays in the hands of the people, then we will be able to maintain our liberty. We cannot allow that balance to be disturbed. Okay? So keep that in mind as you listen to the people here today. This is going to be a very fast-moving, fast-paced event. We're going to have one speaker after another, and we're going to try to get everybody out of here on time so you get home, get back to your cars, and get safely home, okay? So at this point, I'd like to introduce our, yes?
Can we hear it for Frank for putting this together, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you, everybody. Is Steve here, Steve Lonnie? Steve make it? I guess not. Oh, okay. All right. Well, Steve was going to be our first speaker. Maybe he got delayed, so hopefully we'll see him shortly. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce somebody to you I think that most of us know. if you haven't seen his orange book, I think that maybe you've missed something. So I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Evan Nappen, Attorney Evan Nappen, who, if you don't know him, you should. Okay.
Well, hello, sons and daughters of liberty. Hello! You are. And you know, during the Revolution, the Sons of Liberty, they made it happen. They were the guys like you and me out there fighting for our freedom. And you know, Trenton is amazingly historic, and it seems like the guys that work behind us seem to forget that history. But there's a lot of history in the fight for liberty and the fight for freedom right here in Trenton. And I was just walking up Barrack Street just a few moments ago, and they have a big banner. Big banner. Go look at it yourself. The banner has in quotes. I couldn't make this up. Threatened and endangered, in quotes, dealing with the French and Indian War. That's how far back rights and liberty and freedom and our security. We had those concerns, and those concerns are with us today at that moment, because our rights, our guns, our freedom is still threatened and endangered. That's right. And you know, the barracks, those barracks, what Washington had his Christmas raid there that turned around the revolution. You know, it was about to go under, and Washington needed a victory, and he made a victory happen right here in Trenton. And you can see those historic barracks that were part of it with a big sign on it right now: threatened and endangered. You know, I am really sick of gun owners being made the scapegoat every time the system fails to keep some nutcase institutionalized. That's right. New Jersey already has the most oppressive gun control laws in the country. And now they want to add 43 more. The anti-gunners are blood dancers. They dance in the blood of victims to push their agenda. Some of them get insulted when you call them blood dancers, but you know what? They are, because that's just what they do. As soon as there's a victim, as soon as this happens, they're already trying to blame us and take away our gun rights and make it part of their agenda. And we see it all the time, and it makes me sick to watch it. But you know what? They're going to lose. They're going to lose because we are on the side of right. And I'll tell you, the problem in New Jersey, because you know they are working in the gun law area, there is no gun control law in New Jersey that is not a felony. Not a one. So if any of you make a mistake under the gun laws in any way, you become a felon and you lose your gun rights. Okay? This state has aggressive enforcement of the gun laws. And it's so extreme, it boggles the mind if you tell others from outside New Jersey how bad the laws are here, and they want to pass more. That's what just drives me crazy. You realize possessing a broken BB gun outside of your home, business, or the target range is a felony in which you face 10 years in state's prison with a minimum mandatory 5 years in state's prison. The judge has no discretion over that for a broken BB gun. It's a second-degree crime. The only higher crime is first degree for murder. That's how bad our gun laws are. I mean, the only thing they can do to increase the penalties is make it death penalty for unlawful possession. Okay, this state is at the maximum amount of gun laws that could ever be conceived, yet they still come up with more. You realize in New Jersey, possession of a slingshot is a felony. Dennis the Menace and Bart Simpson are felons in New Jersey, and they face 18 months in state's prison for their possession of a slingshot. If you have one round of .22 hollow point ammunition outside of your home or the target range, just one round, 2 cents worth of ammo, well actually more like 5 cents today because of all the ammo shortage, you're looking at 18 months state's prison, felony, loss of gun rights, etc. You have a Marlin Model 60 22 rifle or a Remington 552 22 rifle. Those are assault firearms in New Jersey. Second-degree crime, 10 years state's prison for your, even if you lawfully acquired it before the law with a firearms ID card and bought it from a dealer and filled out the certificate of eligibility, no grandfathering. You have that gun, you're looking at a second-degree felony charge. You have a magazine, over 15 rounds, 18 months, felony, state prison, etc. for 15 rounds. And you know, this whole idea of limiting magazine capacity, I have a question. How many bullets is your life worth? Is it worth 16 bullets, maybe? I mean, how many? Where do they get off having the nerve to tell us how much in bullets our life is worth? Okay? That's our choice and our decision to make, not theirs. And now there's a bill in New Jersey to make that magazine capacity 5 rounds. 5 rounds. And if that bill passes, 6-shot revolvers become banned. That's right, so you're all stuck with J-frame Smith & Wesson 5-shots after that. The reason is, revolving cylinder is part of the definition of magazine for drum. Striker 12s, etc. Revolving cylinder, they're revolvers. That law passes, no more 6-shot revolvers or beyond for this state. This is the kind of garbage that they are using us as a scapegoat. It really is outrageous, and the last state that needs any more gun laws is New Jersey, and they still go at it. You know, I really despise anybody who says this question. Why do you need a large capacity magazine? Right? Why do you need an assault firearm? Let me tell you, first of all, it's a Bill of Rights, not a Bill of Needs. Okay? Second, I'm sorry, is your house on fire right now? Oh, why do you need a fire extinguisher? Oh, are you in a car accident right now? Why do you need a safety belt? But I'll tell you what, when you need them, you damn well need them, right? That's what it's about. So that need question is a load of garbage. Let me tell you, you know, there's in my time here fighting for gun rights for years and attended rallies here, and we've made a difference, and we've always been deep in this fight. But I'll tell you something that I've noticed of the modern fight for gun control, more than ever. Ever since our real president, Charlton Heston, held up that gun and said, "For my cold dead hands," there's been a movement. It's a movement that finds its historical roots in history, from particularly going back to when King Leonidas told Xerxes at Thermopylae, when they said to lay down your weapons. And what did he say? He said, "Molon leve." It means come and take it. Well, I'll tell you what, that is our rallying cry now, for today, for the rest of American history. No more gun laws, and it's come and take it. And let's show anybody who might be watching just what we mean by that. Everyone hold up your hand like this, everybody. And with me, ready, come and take it. 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 Thank you very much for coming to this rally, folks.
All right. I'm just going to quickly introduce Senator Michael Doherty to speak to us. A lot of you people know Senator Doherty as Senator Doherty is one of the most conservative and staunch supporters of the right to keep and bear arms. He introduced a bill so long ago that should have been passed that has never even seen the light of day, the Citizens Protection Act, along with Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll. And if those bills had passed, we wouldn't have to be here today. We're not begging for our rights, we're demanding them. Senator Michael Doherty.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. I've been to a lot of rallies in Trenton, as you can imagine, and this is one of the largest turnouts I've ever seen. I can't think of a safer place to be in the state of New Jersey than right here. You folks are law-abiding, patriotic, you want to take care of your families, and you don't want your freedoms and liberties trampled upon. And I'm here to let you know that some of us in the state legislature agree with you 100%. We need to protect our Second Amendment rights right here in the state of New Jersey. There are here today many military veterans, and I had the great honor of serving in the United States Army, and when I was 18 years old, I raised my right hand and I took an oath. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I didn't take an oath of office to a president or a government. I took an oath of office to the Constitution and defend it, and to defend and protect our liberties. And another thing, we all joined together in the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance states that we have a republic, a constitutional republic. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of folks behind me in this building, they think, they want to say that we have a democracy, and that if you get they don't want to admit that we have a constitutional republic. We have God-given rights. They can never be taken away, regardless of a majority vote. And the reason that we have those God-given rights is because we want to be here today. We want to defend our families. We want to defend our businesses. We want to defend our homes. And we want to be free. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you walk right through these doors, and we have great public safety personnel, we have some state troopers, they do a great job. But ladies and gentlemen, as was pointed out, right on the other side of these doors, metal detectors, scanners, and armed security. And you know what? If it's good enough for elected officials that work inside this building, you ought to have the same rights. Because you know what? In your time of need, the police may not be there to protect you and your family. You may need to protect yourself. So thanks for coming on out today. I want you to know there's a number of us in the legislature that do agree with you 100%, and we're going to be fighting every step of the way to protect your constitutional rights, law-abiding citizens, taking care of their families, taking care of their homes. God bless you, and thanks for being here today.
Trouble with my notes here. Oh, he's a tall guy. Oh my God. I'm in a little trouble with my notes because of the rain. So just give me a second here. I'm going to introduce to you Attorney Daniel Schmutter. Some of you may not know Dan, but Dan has been very much involved in the Second Amendment movement for quite some time. You may or may not know that he submitted amicus briefs to both the Heller and McDonald cases. Okay, very important Supreme Court decisions that have determined that we do indeed have the individual right to keep and bear arms. And all right, okay. And so I want to introduce. Dan is a litigation partner at the law firm of Greenbaum, Rowe, Smith & Davis in Woodbridge. His practice includes the area of civil rights and constitutional law, Second Amendment and other firearms-related issues, as well as business, real estate, and environmental litigation. Dan, as I mentioned, has submitted briefs to the Supreme Court and the New Jersey Supreme Court on a number of cases, including Heller and McDonald. The McDonald brief was cited by Justice Alito in his opinion in the case. Dan appeared on the Fox business show Freedom Watch with Judge Andrew Napolitano, another patriot, and where he discussed New Jersey firearms law in the wake of McDonald. He lectures for groups including the NJ2AS and the NRA, and has written about the Second Amendment issues for a number of publications. Now I'd like to introduce you, Dan Schmutter. Dan? Look at you all. It's cold, it's wet, we're all here. It's great. Thank you for being here. It's, on a day like this, if everybody can come out for this, it really says something. You're here because your rights are at stake. Our rights are at stake. Your liberty is at stake here. As Frank said, my name is Dan Schmutter. I'm an attorney. And I'm proud to say that I go to court to protect the right to keep and bear arms. I'm also proud to say that I attended law school at the University of Virginia. They call it Mr. Jefferson's University because he founded it. And you know, Mr. Jefferson, you may not know this, he wrote his own epitaph. And on his tombstone, he put the three accomplishments he was most proud of in his life. One was the establishment of the University of Virginia. One was the Virginia Statute of Religious Liberty. And of course, the third, the Declaration of Independence. Now, of course, Thomas Jefferson was one of the key figures that we all know of and love to thank for our tradition of liberty in this country. But what a lot of people don't necessarily know is that Thomas Jefferson had a keen and significant appreciation for the right to keep and bear arms. Now, most people, it's very frequent that people think about James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, a lot of the other framers when they're thinking about, the basis and the scope and the nature of our right to keep and bear arms. But Thomas Jefferson was also someone who really understood and keenly appreciated the importance of the right. As a student, Jefferson had these compilations called commonplace books. And he had one that was a legal commonplace book. And in that book, he kept a passage from an 18th century Italian philosopher named Cesare Beccaria. And in 1764, he wrote an essay on crime and punishment. And he said the following: "Laws that forbid the carrying of arms disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than prevent homicides. For an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed one." Seems so basic,
common sense.
But there are so many people who don't understand this. We understand it, and it's our job to make sure others understand. And to that end, we need to be relentless. Years later, in 1776, Thomas Jefferson prepared a draft of the Virginia Constitution, which he wrote, "No freeman shall be debarred the use of arms." Mr. Jefferson understood. We are here today because we know what Jefferson and Madison and Hamilton and others knew then. Infringing the right to keep and bear arms did not serve the interest of public safety. It harms public safety and diminishes personal liberty. Disarming the honest doesn't deter the dishonest. It emboldens them. Weakening the law-abiding merely strengthens the lawbreaker.
You know that.
We have before us, both here in Trenton and in Washington, an assault on our liberty. To allow this to go unchecked is to do a disservice to our children and grandchildren who count on us to be strong for them. So we're here exercising our First Amendment rights to protect our Second Amendment rights. We're here peaceably assembled
and freely speaking. And we know that gun owners are among the most peaceable people in America. And we also know that gun owners speak loudly and freely. Finally, we know that one of the reasons our Second Amendment rights are so important is so that we can protect our First Amendment rights. The irony of directing so-called public safety legislation at the peaceable is extraordinary. Cesare Beccaria had it right. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. And if we forget that defending liberty is something we must do all of our lives, we will lose it. Each and every one of us must remember this. If we take freedom lightly, they'll take our freedom from us. It's easy to forget, but it's a mistake we can't afford to make. Thomas Jefferson also wrote, "The natural progress of things is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground. But if we allow liberty to be taken in pieces, there will be no liberty left." We stand here together at the State House not because we think that our presence today solves our problems. We stand here because in this way we can all be here together and see our brothers and sisters who care about defending freedom and will always remain in the fight with us. Now, I can't really claim to speak for all the Second Amendment lawyers out there, and we're out there all over the country, and there's a bunch of us here too today, but I'll try anyway. I'll make you a deal. Promise to be relentless, and we will be relentless. Refuse to give in, and we will refuse to give in. If you fight for liberty at the State House, and you fight for liberty from your own house, we promise to fight for liberty at the courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Really appreciate your statements. And I would, at this point, I was told that David Jensen is here. Yeah, there you are. Okay. I'd like to introduce Attorney Dave Jensen. Dave has his own firm, and you may know Dave has been involved with originally the case was, what's it about? Okay, originally the case was known as Muller v. Maenza. Okay, it's been changed now to names I can't even pronounce, but it is the case that involves the fight against the justifiable need clause that irritates all of us, because self-defense and defense of our family is justifiable need enough, and defense of our liberty is justifiable need enough. So I'm going to introduce to you Attorney David Jensen. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, it was about 100 years ago that elitist interests in the Northeast started enacting laws that broadly prevented people from being able to protect themselves and their families. Many people don't know that, in fact, in 1928, legislation was introduced in the New York legislature that would have completely prohibited the possession of handguns. Do you know what happened to that bill? Well, I'll tell you, Gun Owners United. And there was so much opposition expressed to the bill that its sponsor withdrew it and told a New York Times reporter that the people were never going to give up their guns. Are you going to give up your guns? So where do we stand on the gun rights litigation front? Well, about a year and a half ago, I filed one of 2 lawsuits challenging Illinois' complete ban on carrying firearms in public. And you won! We did. 2 months ago, the Federal Appeals Court for the 7th Circuit gave the state of Illinois 180 days to adopt a right to carry law. And you want to know what else? They've got 120 days left. We've also got cases in other forums. As Frank mentioned, our New Jersey case, which is Pisatowski versus Filko, is scheduled for oral argument in a week and a half in the appeals court for the Third Circuit in Philadelphia. As of last night, I filed a case in Massachusetts challenging their laws and practices of issuing restricted handgun carry licenses. And when I leave here today, I am going to be working on a brief to the Supreme Court encouraging them to review New York's law in the Kachelski case. One of the parties that I will be submitting that brief on behalf of and who is sponsoring that brief is the New Jersey Second Amendment Society. The bottom line is we have been fighting this battle for the past 100 years, and we are continuing to fight it, and we will fight it on every available front. So my message to you, my people, standing together, we have beat anti-gun proposals, we will continue to beat anti-gun proposals, and we will protect our freedoms for ourselves and our children. Thank you.
Let's hear it for David. Let's hear it for all our speakers. And I want to take I want to take a moment also to, I forgot I wanted to do this at the beginning. I want to thank the members of the state police that have been so really helpful. They've been wonderful. And the people from the building management, have been extremely, they've been very gracious and very helpful in helping us to get this arranged and set up, and they've been very tolerant of us because we're a good-natured crowd, right? We're a well-behaved crowd. All right. So I want to thank all of them, and I also want to thank the Trenton Police because they've been helpful also in terms of helping us to block off the street and to deal with the traffic. So thank you for them as well. All right. And now I'd like to introduce to you Attorney Scott Bach, who you all know. There's not much I have to say. Scott has been the president of, originally the president of the ANJRPC for, well, since time began, I believe it was. And now is the executive director. He has been involved in this fight for, well, since time began. And I'm a new kid on the block compared to Scott, but I'd like to now welcome him to the podium. Scott?
Good morning. Good morning. Let me tell you something. You have to be really committed to be out here today, and I am constantly amazed and encouraged because you know what? Freedom doesn't know weather, okay? It's ironic that we're standing here today in Trenton in the middle of a perfect storm, because that's exactly what we've been facing today, even if the sun were shining. A perfect storm of anti-gun activity. Liberal lawmakers are in a feeding frenzy right now, falling all over themselves to move 43 of the most extreme, over-the-top anti-gun bills this state has ever seen. Gun bans, ammo bans, 5-round magazine limits, psychological exams, home inspections, forced buybacks, taxes, fees, 5 references for permits, and just about every other brainless idea that has nothing to do with preventing another tragedy and everything to do with eradicating what is left of the Second Amendment. It's not enough that we already have the toughest gun laws in the nation. Not enough that gun owners are being locked up and thrown in jail every day for so-called crimes like stopping for food or fuel or medical treatment on the way to the range. It's not enough that where we have the least amount of freedom, we have the most amount of crime. And it's not enough for these legislators, and it never will be enough for them until there's nothing left of the Second Amendment, because that's their true agenda. What they're doing is not about preventing another tragedy, stopping crime, or keeping guns from the mentally ill. And no one can argue that it is. because criminals and madmen who don't follow the thousands of laws we already have are not going to start following a new one. The only people who will be affected by what is being proposed are you and me, and that's precisely what they intend. These lawmakers hate guns. They don't think ordinary citizens should be allowed to have them, and right now they are exploiting a tragedy to advance a political agenda. They pay lip service to the Second Amendment, which has now become code among liberal politicians for the diametrical opposite. Pay attention to what they do, not what they say. Heller and MacDonald are meaningless if they only exist in the pages of law books and not in everyday lives. Just because we own guns and shoot off fireworks on the 4th of July does not mean that we are free. We are living under the boot of bureaucrats who have forgotten that their very existence comes from the consent of the people. To them, the state is everything and the individual is nothing. They have it backwards, and that must change. And gun rights are where the rubber meets the road. And the media, the spontaneous combustion of months of one-sided coverage, high on emotion, low on facts or fairness, creating a great blind spot in the American psyche for those without the time, energy, or inclination to question what they're hearing. Yeah, it is most definitely a perfect storm, and there's only one thing left that can stop it. Us. We face impossible odds in a state house controlled by anti-gunners. But we are used to that because we've been dealing with it for over a decade. We decided long ago that the odds do not matter, and that we're either going to find a way or make one. We planted our feet and declared that no matter what the odds, the limitations or the challenges, we would find a way to stand and fight, to defend freedom, even if all we had to muster was sheer force of will and nothing more. Today is no different, even in the face of this perfect storm. Nothing will stop us from defending freedom. And right now, we are organizing the largest mobilization of the outdoor community in state history. Like Frank said before, today marks the beginning of that effort, not the end. And the most important work is actually going to be ahead of us, on the other side of those State House walls behind us. When the legislative threats begin to move, and that could be as early as next week, yes, you heard me right, the phones, the faxes, and the email accounts inside that building need to be shut down with volume. And we need to pack the legislative hearing rooms and galleries like never before, with overwhelming numbers of gun owners overflowing into the hallways beyond what anybody has ever seen in these buildings. We need to mass like never before and make sure that legislators who won't see the light will definitely feel the heat. So for those of you who made it here today, and especially for those of you who didn't, understand that the hardest work is still ahead of us, and that you're going to need to come back here several more times in the coming weeks and months. And that those are the key moments we have been preparing for. Understand that groups like ANJRPC and NRA and NJ2AS only have power because they have members like you who are willing to stand up and speak out with one voice when it matters most.
Just tell us when! Just tell
Without
us when!
you, we are nothing. With you, we can prevail against impossible odds. Freedom throughout the world is protected by America. America, in turn, is protected by the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment is protected by gun owners like you and me. Lose the Second Amendment and the last best hope for freedom everywhere disappears. When politicians work to end gun rights, they are really working to end all rights. Their motivations are suspect and they cannot be allowed to prevail. Our country and our state stand at the edge of a sharp and dangerous cliff. Below us is a bottomless pit called the end of freedom, and behind us is a thronging mass of humanity deceived into embracing its own destruction, trying to push us over the edge. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever has brought you to this cause, I say you have been called here, as we all have been called. Lady Liberty is under savage attack and our torch has almost gone out. Our leaders have abandoned the core principles that made us great, and worse, they are working to turn us into a godless oligarchy where government is supreme and there is no room for the individual, let alone private firearms ownership.
Throw them all out!
We are just ordinary people who have been given an extraordinary task at an extraordinary time. But there are millions of us, and when you act, there are millions of us acting. We need to stand up, speak out, do our part, and defend freedom with every ounce of strength we have. Know that there will be millions of others doing the same. Together, we will protect and defend one of the most precious gifts we have from God, the gift of freedom. Thank you and God bless, and remember to defend freedom.
Thank you, Scott. Let's hear it for Scott. Scott Bach. Okay, guys. As you can see, I may not be the most professional speaker that you ever heard before, but we got one of the most professional sound systems that you've ever seen. These guys are wonderful, so I want to give a vote of thanks to the guys that have set this up for us. Wonderful guys. They really gave us a good deal, but still, we're going to send these guys out, our guys out with buckets. If you can help, please help, because these things are expensive to run. All of our programs are expensive to run. I don't want to fleece you. If you can help us out, please do. Okay, and before I reintroduce Rabbi Bendory to make his remarks to us, I just wanted to give Allison McHose sent her regrets. Okay, she's a wonderful, wonderful leader. She's a great person. I like her very, very much. She is a leader of the Conservative Republican Caucus. I've been to her meetings. She staunchly supports the right of the individuals to keep and bear arms. She could not make it, and so she sends her regrets, but I thank her for her support. So that's Allison McHose. Keep her in mind. She's great people. That's here for Allison, all right? Okay. Good deal. Okay, and now I would like to bring Rabbi Bendory back to make comments of his own, okay? Thank you very much. Well,
would you believe that I'm overdressed today? I'm actually sweating under here, would you believe me? People ask me, how come I'm coming down here given the weather, rain, wet, couldn't be colder, couldn't be a nastier day, to which I said, we're going to be a little bit uncomfortable in Trenton for 2 or 3 hours, and that's going to make us much more comfortable than anyone in this country will be if we are all disarmed. State senators, members of the assembly, distinguished guests, moms, dads, grandparents, children, my fellow citizens. I'm an Orthodox rabbi, and I'm here to speak with you today because I love life, and because I believe that what brings us here together today is that we all love life. Our founding fathers established our nation on the principle that all men are created equal. Guns save lives. That is why the police have them, and that is why we who gather here today to speak out in support of Second Amendment freedoms, that is why we have guns. That is why we, the American people, will stand up against the tyranny of anyone who seeks to advance the cause of so-called gun control. That is why we will stand against any law that's just an incremental step to victim disarmament. And that is why we stand here today and we say no. No to restrictions on magazine capacity. No to laws governing cosmetic features of common firearms. No to government lists. No to government registries of law-abiding citizens who seek only to protect themselves and their families. No, no, no! The helpless, government-dependent self-disarmament promoted by the liberal politicians and the liberal media is neither admirable nor moral.
That's right.
Disarming us, disarming we the people, the responsible, law-abiding citizens of New Jersey, will only encourage crime and embolden criminals. When a mass shooting occurs, and we've had a tragic plague of such events recently, when such events occur, it is all too easy to demonize firearms. It's also foolish and short-sighted. Firearms are merely tools, morally neutral instruments that become valuable or dangerous in the hands of their handlers. A malevolent soul, like the criminals in Newtown, Aurora, Fort Hood, and elsewhere. Such a malevolent soul will always find tools and instruments to exploit in the pursuit of evil. Take away firearms and they'll use baseball bats and knives. We've seen it in China. They'll use a vehicle to drive into a crowded bus stop. We've seen it in Jerusalem. As a law-abiding, responsible, moral citizen, we, the residents of the Garden State, we understand guns save lives. Lawful use of tools of force and defensive firearms must sometimes be employed to deter and stop criminal violence. We, the people, the civilian citizens of the United States, use firearms to deter crime, to prevent murder, to stop a rape, at least 2,000 times a day by conservative estimates. Guns save lives. And thus, we the people, we retain our God-given right to keep and bear arms, including arms that will adequately protect us from any type of illegal activity, chaos like Katrina, or societal breakdown like the LA riots. Guns save lives. As Governor Christie and the State Assembly wrestle with the complex issues involved with keeping firearms from the hands of criminals, they may not infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens. We pray that the Almighty will guide them on this path of righteousness. The founders of our great nation created in the Constitution limits on government authority and power, including limiting the government from infringing on the right of we the people, not just to keep, but also to bear arms. I love life, but there is no life without the right to defend life from unjustified attack. I love my family, and I am my family's first and likely only line of defense. As a rabbi, as a father, as a Jew, as an American, I value the sanctity of life. Because I love life, because I value the sanctity of life, I recognize the need to preserve access to firearms as life-saving tools. Guns save lives. May God watch over us. May God protect us, that we should never have the need for the use of such tools.
Amen.
May God bless us, and may God bless America. Thank you.
All right. Rabbi Dovid Bendory, the gun rabbi. Thank you. Okay, I'm faced with an impossible task. No, it's not obtaining the right to keep and bear arms. We're going to do that. But I'm faced with the task of answering the question, who is Anthony Colandro? I mean, come on. Anybody that knows me knows how difficult this is for me. All right, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my best job. All right, Anthony Colandro is a man who took me under his wing when I was first starting the fledgling NJ2AS, and nobody really knew what it was. He listened to what I had to say, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to introduce you to the right people," and he did. He gave of himself. He gave of his facilities. He's just been a wonderful man. He's helped us grow. He introduced us to the people down at South Jersey Shooting Center. We've had meetings up in Belleville at his facilities. We've had meetings down at South Jersey Shooting Center. And I couldn't be happier with the friendship that I've developed with Anthony over the years. But I'm going to introduce him the way I have it here on paper, just so that we have it clear. Anthony Colandro is a capitalist marksman, okay? All right, I love that. Okay, as you know, he's also a business owner, okay? He's the business owner of Gun for Hire facilities, training facilities up in Belleville, New Jersey, and across the state of New Jersey. He can tell you the locations. I can't remember them all. And also Gun for Hire Radio, along with Sandy Variety, who you listen to every Sunday, right? If you don't listen to it, start listening to it, because I'm going to be on it a lot more, all right? So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Anthony Colandro, my friend.
Thank you all for having me. Look at this beautiful alcove full of patriots, huh? Give yourself a great hand for being here on a crappy day like today. I just want to say something. I know we spoke before about Art Barton, but we really lost a true brother and a patriot. Art was like my brother. He became an NRA instructor through me, and he wanted to be here today, and I feel like Art is here today. Okay? So this day for me and for all of you should be for Art. So a lot of you listen to Gun for Hire Radio, huh? Yeah! Sorry. I want to say the State House is right behind me. And many, many heroes gave their lives through our history so that we could be here today. So that we have the right to assemble and speak freely, protected by the First Amendment, which, by the way, is an individual right. But our legislators believe that the Second Amendment is not an individual right. They're wrong! The Second Amendment was so important to our founders that it was second on the list. It wasn't 9th or 10th on the list, it was second on the list. But what's happened is we've seen a reversal here. They are not our public servants anymore. They've become our public masters. It is our job, by assembling peacefully today and by voting and by telling them how we feel through email and voicemail and writing to them, to tell them that they are our servants, not our masters. It's going backwards. I have a message to the legislators behind me. I hope some of them are listening. Listen to us, not the criminals. Listen to us, not the media. Listen to us, not the special interest groups that are always whispering in their ear with their lobby money.
Vote them out!
Correct. Vote them out. That's what we need to do. We need to vote them out.
Vote them out!
Vote them out! this, what about our revolving door, catch and release criminal justice system? I'm all for locking them up and throw away the key. Leave me and my guns alone. We need to look at the judges with their early release records. Let's start judging judges. Okay, our governor realizes this in many ways. He's not here today, but he does realize it. He says New Jersey has enough gun laws. Our legislators, wake up and listen to us. Because we all know 1 gun a month has done so much to lower crime. I want to thank you all again for being here. I want to thank Frank for doing a tremendous job. And you people, if it wasn't for you, none of this would have happened. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Anthony.
Tell him happy birthday!
So, what was that?
Tell him happy birthday!
Happy birthday?
Yes! Anthony!
Hey, happy birthday! What's up?
It's on Sunday!
All right, I would like to now introduce to you minority business owner Ainsley Reynolds. Now, people say... wait, I'm going to read it first. Okay. Now, what do I mean by minority business owner? Ainsley is one of the few people that wear a bow tie that I know, and I'm pretty sure he's in the minority on that, so I'm pretty sure that's what it means. I got to change the mic here. Okay. Ainsley is the owner of Ainsley A. Reynolds, LLC, dedicated to teaching financial literacy and mentoring at-risk youth. He has been mentoring at-risk young men for over 15 years. The last 9 years, he's been mentoring through the program he co-founded and called Mentoring and Leadership Equals Success, MALES, M-A-L-E-S, Mentoring and Leadership Equals Success. The mentoring program in North Plainfield. Mr. Reynolds is a certified public accountant licensed in both New York and New Jersey, holds an additional designation as certified global management accountant, and he earned a master's degree of administration from St. John's University, Bachelor of Arts in Economics from State University of New York at Stony Brook. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Ainsley Reynolds.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to tell our story. We're not going to let the media tell our story. We're here to tell our story, to tell the truth. With a combination of the bad economy, high unemployment, reduction of the police force, who was the first person at your home to protect you? It's you! The police cannot be everywhere. As evidence, last year when someone broke into my home, broke into my car, the police are not everywhere. So you need to rely on you to protect you. How do you protect that? With the Second Amendment and a firearm. However, some of the legislators, particularly an unnamed undersheriff up in the 20th district,
What district?
and a detective up in the 31st district in Jersey City, you know, they do very well on crime up there, believe that you don't have the right to own a firearm. So they come up with these laws. They come up with these different types of laws. Psychological exam, list of people in your house, magazine limitation, put your gun in the safe unlocked at all times, unloaded. 43 garbage legislations. Why? Not one of them is going to prevent what happened in Newtown. Not one of them is going to prevent what happened in Aurora and all the other mass killings. So what is the purpose? I'd like one of them to tell me which which one of the 43 garbage legislation could protect my first grader daughter right now in school? Not one. Which one of the 43 garbage legislation is going to protect my wife who's a teacher? At my daughter's school right now, if I walk into the building, you might have an unarmed individual. Let's just leave it at individual. Not going to stop me, and I'm unarmed. It's not going to stop Anthony. It's not going to stop anybody. So imagine if someone with a firearm and that person standing at that front door. You got armed guards right here in the State House. You got armed guards in the bank. You arm a whole lot of things, but not our children. Something is wrong with that scenario.
Gotta protect the money. Why are they more important than our kids?
You have other legislators that come up with nonsense legislation. We're going to declare public violence a public health crisis. Oh, wow. So I have to give up my Fourth Amendment for my Second Amendment and have all the rest of these gun restrictions. We all here that own one of these. That's right. Firearms ID. We are law-abiding citizens. We have had a background check. We've had a health screen check.
Yeah.
We have 2 residence checks. We have the next check at the point of sale. How many checks do we need in order to say that we are eligible to own a firearm? We've had so many checks, more than some of the people in this building. Ask Senator Menendez how many checks he had. Again, I said, stop telling these lies. We don't own an assault weapon. The AR-15 is not an assault weapon. It's a semi-automatic rifle. Yeah. Stop letting the media dictate what an assault weapon is. It doesn't shit. We can't own one. There's no automatic machine guns out here. You're going to ban a weapon because of the way it looks? I remember back in the days, certain people would ban me from certain places because of the way I look. Yeah. Almost like a black rifle. So, I would say to the legislators, instead of spending an inordinate number of time, energy, and taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars, on laws that don't make any sense. These are not common sense gun laws. These are no common sense, ignorant, grandstanded laws. And today we stand here to say no more. No more. Enough. Enough. No more additional restrictions.
Vote them out.
No more knucklehead legislation. No more letting the mainstream media dictate to us what we can't carry. No more of the media demonizing, vilifying us, the law-abiding, taxpaying citizens. No more. Today I stand with you. As a husband, a father, a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen. I stand with you. Protect my Second Amendment rights. And let the politicians know. If you think it's okay to infringe on my right, let me tell you another thing. I'm also a voting citizen. That's If you choose to keep going down this road with all these 43 garbage legislations, me and my friends. I said me and my friends. Will make sure you will no longer have a job. Come November. Put them in office. They work for us, we don't work for them.
out to hold his umbrella.
Just so you know how stupid I am, I didn't even know that I was going to put Ainsley on until Anthony talked me into it. Boy, was I wrong, right? All right, that's a tough act to follow, but we have somebody here that I believe who can follow it, and that is someone that we all know. Anyone that's been in the know in the gun rights arena knows that Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll has been a leader and a supporter for a very, very long time, for a young guy, for a young guy. He's a true champion of Second Amendment rights. I would like to introduce to you now Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll. Give him a big hand.
How do I follow that? I guess you guys have the crowd pretty much warmed up for me here. How's this global warming working out for you? I will say this, I'm not going to take that vote them out cheer too personally right now. I have never had occasion to use a mic in my entire life.
You want to run for Senate?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you here on this fine spring day. It's a great opportunity to address so many patriots, and it's a fine thing to come before a crowd that doesn't have their hand out, that only wants to be left alone. And I heard, two things that troubled me, though, by the way. Evan was up here while he was going like this, and this may get every fourth grader in the state suspended. Now, we heard about these psychological tests for people like you. Well, how about psychological tests for people like me? You want to serve in the assembly, shouldn't you be at least capable of understanding things? Now, that so many of the opponents of freedom are utterly ignorant about firearms comes as no surprise. Now, I suppose it is possible to hunt ducks with a rifle. What every American should find troubling is their utter ignorance of basic constitutional principles and the history of this nation. America began with a revolution, and that revolution began with private citizens using privately owned assault weapons to shoot at soldiers who represented the duly authorized and lawful government. Anyone who celebrates the 4th of July and calls himself an American is celebrating an armed citizenry, defending its liberty against tyrannical government, often using private firearms. Now, when the first Congress met in New York to debate a Bill of Rights, when it came to the Second Amendment, they weren't talking about hunting white tails. They were talking about hunting red coats. Our framers understood that a free people stays that way only so long as they possess the means to defend that freedom. While we all love our American armed forces, my son is a soldier and I could not be prouder. Anyone who believes that this great force for good couldn't be warped into a force for great evil knows nothing of history and nothing of human nature. Around the world, we have seen repeated examples of children betraying their parents, of siblings murdering each other. To paraphrase two noted conservative Republicans, John F. Kennedy and Hubert Humphrey. It's precisely because it can happen here that an armed citizenry is necessary. Now, up against the wisdom of Madison, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Hamilton, and the other framers, the enemies of freedom give us Barack Obama, Charles Schumer, and our very own national nanny, Frank Lautenberg. Against the Federalist Papers, they cite the New York Times, demonstrating just how far journalism has fallen. Now, maybe it's just me, but as between Obama and Madison? Now, inexplicably, our adversaries trust the agents of government, but not their fellow citizens. A more idiotic proposition would be hard to imagine. Parchment barriers will not stop tyranny. Only a citizenry ready, willing, and able to defend that liberty can do that.
That's right.
Now, America differs from the rest of the world. It always annoys me when the Swedes preach at us about such things. How many Swedes died on the beaches of Normandy? But if you like Sweden, feel free to move. Here we believe in individual liberty, not collectivism. Here we trust the citizenry and are inherently suspicious of power. Here we don't just have an army, we are an army. Every one of us a soldier in defense of freedom. Now, as much as we might grouse about our government from time to time, and justifiably so, we're proud of more than 2 centuries of liberty. But being proud of our heritage of freedom is no excuse for complacency. It happened in Europe because the people were powerless to stop it. That it didn't happen here doesn't mean it can. Pray God that it never comes to that, but if it does, it may fall to us to be as the heroic men of yore, defending liberty against a government run amok. It behooves a free people jealous of their liberty to retain the rights to defend it, and the means. The enemies of the freedom call us paranoid. Tell that to 3 million disarmed Cambodians who died at the hands of their government.
That's right.
Tell that to tens of millions of disarmed Europeans who died at the hands of the Nazis. Even more tens of millions of disarmed people who died at the hands of the communists. Now, perhaps our friends are right. Perhaps we're concerned about a threat which, God willing, will never materialize, and that's fine. There's not a lot of crime up by me, but we don't fire the police. House fires are rare. We don't fire firemen. Given the stakes, the most precious heritage, freedom itself, simple prudence, militates in favor of preparedness. Now, ladies and gentlemen, an armed citizenry is not a problem to be solved, it's a blessing to be celebrated.
Yeah!
And I want to thank you very much for showing up here today on this blustery day to remind your elected representatives that their first duty is to protect freedom and not to find an excuse to undermine it. Thank you.
Good job, Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll.
Yeah!
Okay, and we're going to move along real quickly now because I want to keep this going. So I'm going to introduce to you a gentleman that many of you know, especially people down in South Jersey, Robert Viden, who, by the way...
Viden?
No, Viden, not Biden, sorry. Businessman Robert Viden. He's, Bob, you know, is the founder and owner of his family's Bob's Little Sport Shop, an indoor sporting range in Glassboro. I'll tell you, I've never seen a busier place in my life. I went there with my wife to get her, give her an opportunity to try a number of different guns. We went down with a bunch of my friends, and I walked into that place, and you know, you needed, like Moses, to part the sea to get through. It was unbelievable. So, and of course, I wish him the best and continued success. Bob is the Regional Vice President of the ANJRPC, the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. Okay, and President of the New Jersey Retail Firearms Dealer Association. Okay, he served on the NRA Board of Directors for 15 years, member of the distinguished NRA Whittington Center Board of Directors, a member of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, member of the Safari Club International, and also the Dallas Safari Club, member of South Jersey Gun Collectors, member of 50 Cal Shooters Association. See that sign over there, 50 Cal, all right. And hunts in North America and Africa with handgun, and a patriot and an activist. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. It's a wonderful weather out here. A well-regulated militia, being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Our Second Amendment. Most people dwell on the right to keep and bear arms, but we also have the militia. We are the people, we are the militia. The last time a militia was formed to help America and defend America from attack was in an airplane over Pennsylvania. That's right. 911. That's right. The people on that airplane were denied their right to bear arms. They resorted to kitchen utensils to take the plane over and crash it in a rural area of Pennsylvania, saving thousands of lives in the Washington, D.C. area where the plane was intended to crash. But because they did not have the right to bear arms, they sacrificed their life to do it. They were true Americans. We don't want to lose our rights. America is the greatest country on earth, and we must keep it that way. As American citizens, our forefathers knew what it took to keep freedom and keep us free. There's a river behind the State House called the Delaware. George Washington crossed that river in 1776 to come to Trenton. If the legislators back then had banned .50 calibers, he wouldn't have been allowed to come in. They were all carrying 75 caliber and 69 caliber guns. They wouldn't have been permitted. I also believe that we have to get morality back into our schools. We have to get God back into our country. They've taken God out of the schools, taken the Ten Commandments away from our children, and we have to teach them moral values. And when we teach our citizens moral values, we'll have less crime.
That's right.
This country is the greatest on earth because of the people who made it, and we have to keep it that way. Freedom will only be lost when we give up, and I will not give up. God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you, Robert Viden. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. I lost my place. Oh, here we go. Whoa, excuse me. I didn't see him. I'm expecting Nelson Albano. Are you here? Assemblyman Albano? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna.
We can edit that out later, right?
We may have gotten our wires crossed or something. So at this point, Brett Rappaport, I'd like to introduce you. Brett Rappaport is a conservative talk show host, okay, who you may, if you haven't followed him, you should. I think you'll enjoy his show. You can find it on the internet. It's available. His show runs live from 3 to 5 on WIFI AM, which is 1460. It's a regional station located in Burlington, New Jersey. Our 500-watt broadcast signal covers listening audience of over 1 million people from Philadelphia to the Jersey Shore. WIFI AM 1460 also streams live on the internet at WIFI AM. Hey, that could be my station. WIFI AM 1460.com and can be heard around the globe on your computer, an internet radio, or even your 3G capable phone. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Brett.
Thank you. Well, this is an amazing crowd, folks. But this is also an amazing country. And we are an amazing citizenry.
Yeah!
I took to the airways, by the way, that's my old station, but I took to the airways just a few years ago for one reason, and that is liberty.
Yeah!
This isn't about guns. It's about liberty.
Yeah!
Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi and those of you in this State House that don't recognize the word liberty, let me give you some direction. Aristotle, Plato, Cicero, and yes, our founders learned from them. Back then they used swords and shields, and those who didn't have them, their property, their rights, and their liberty were taken from them.
Yeah!
Our founders ran out the back door of their farmhouses as the British were coming for them to take away their guns. But we defended ourselves, and born was the greatest nation the earth will ever know. And that is the United States of America. It's not the United Federal Government. It's not Barack Obama. And it is not taking away any of our rights. Any of them, including the Second Amendment. Because without the Second Amendment, there are no other rights. I want to share just a little background of my family. Family members of mine were amongst the 6 million Jews taken away in Poland and Germany. And we don't know where they disappeared to, but we know they disappeared. And also, my great uncles fought for the United States of America, 2 of which died on Normandy, one which fought with Patton and was a medic, shot 3 times, and recently his wife passed away, and I was handed by my father his Purple Heart. He never told me one word about his experience in World War II because it was too painful. He never spoke a word. And I really didn't know that much of his experience until I was handed that Purple Heart. And I ask you folks, how many of you standing here own a gun and have used it in the wrong way? How many of you are criminals because you own a gun? How many of you are criminals? All of us. Well, we're all criminals for a different reason, but we'll get to that in a second. We are honest, good American citizens. And we earn the right to keep our Second Amendment and all, which was very clearly explained, by the way, in the Federalist Papers and in our Constitution. And I have a whole list of quotes here from everyone from Thomas Jefferson to Sam Adams to George Washington to James Madison, you name it. They spoke very clearly of what it meant to protect your rights and freedoms, and they all said the same thing. It requires the individual, the citizen, to have a gun and to be able to stand up against a tyrannical government. Period. Ladies and gentlemen, what we see today is a media and a progressive liberal movement that will take up the Socialist Manifesto, the Communist Manifesto, but they will tell us that the Constitution is outdated. Are you going to stand for that? Why should any American ever stand for losing one single solitary right? We have 315 million people in this nation. Again, the greatest nation on earth. And it will only remain a nation if all 315 million people, and growing, thanks to that illegal immigration bill coming.
Hey, what do you think of the world on a Ford tractor speaking out of this?
Right.
When are we going to wake up the rest of these sons of bitches and get rid of them?
We must stand together, united for liberty. Yeah. And that just as much as we protect the First Amendment right for those in the press, and yes, Barack Obama to spew his hate in this nation, we also stand for our Second Amendment right and our Third Amendment and the Fourth and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the United States of America. You are its citizens. We are the people. Yeah. And Governor Chris Christie, I have a message for you. You must stand with us for this very liberty, and so should the people in the State House. Because I don't care if you want to tell me what color my house should be, or you keep raising my taxes, but I care about my liberty. Because I could move somewhere else to pay lower taxes, but once you take away my liberty, then I have to really fight hard to get it back. And once it's gone, you might not be able to get it back. And that's what you must recognize. Ladies and gentlemen, we do this together. Frank, you are a patriot for this organization and all those involved in it. You are patriots for getting wet and being cold and coming out here and not going to work or whatever else you had to do to stand up for what is the most important, our Constitution and your children, your families, and, by the way, this country. Yeah! Folks, don't ever stop fighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Well, I mean, look around you guys. I don't think you're going to ever see Ceasefire New Jersey standing out in the rain like this. Yeah, who are those people? I have no idea. Well, so, let's ask the question, all right? I understand it's pretty nasty out here, but I see some feminine faces out there, right? This is not an old boys club, is it? All right, so, all right, you guys shut up for a minute. You guys be quiet. Let's hear from the women. There's a bunch of you. Okay, well that's good because I've got a treat for you. I'm going to introduce to you someone that's going to bring some class to this podium. This is a person that you may not have met in person, but you've probably heard over the air. Her name is Ann Penna. She has a conservative talk show that you can get, receive over the internet. I've been on her show. She's a great host and a very good friend, and I'd like to introduce her now. Ann Penna.
Yeah! Thank you so much. I want to say it's an honor to be here with all of you today. Thank you. Thanks. Dear Founding Fathers, we American citizens today are facing your worst fears for our country. You knew in writing our Constitution and Bill of Rights that it would be up to us, we the people, to participate and hold accountable our elected officials. You had hoped for us that we would learn lessons from the past, and you put in place a republic that was enacted so that the people were the master and the government the servant. Founding Fathers, you put faith in the fact that we would not so easily give up our freedoms and liberties for a false sense of safety and security that additional laws would bring. You knew that one of the ordinary modes by which tyrants accomplish their purposes without resistance is by disarming the people and making it an offense to keep arms. You knew above all else that the Second Amendment and our right to keep and bear arms would be vital to our freedom and liberty and the survival of our republic, and that this was our best defense. Today we see history repeating itself as our government looks to infringe upon our rights that were granted to us by God and reinforced in our Constitution. In 1774, the British Parliament put a ban on the importation of guns and powder and started to seize stored black powder from the colonists. They sent troops that began warrantless searches for arms and ammo until it culminated in the attempted forceful seizure of the colonists' arms in Lexington and Concord. On April 19, 1775, the colonists treated that forceful seizure as an act of war, and so began the American Revolution. We have a Department of Homeland Security that is buying, stockpiling, and hoarding 1.6 billion rounds of ammo. We have the Feinstein Bill, which bans certain weapons, and in New Jersey we have proposed 43 pieces of legislation dealing with gun control, all doing nothing to protect the citizens. We have also witnessed the confiscation of arms in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina at the whim of a police chief. While the British claimed it was never their intent to abolish the colonists' rights to self-defense, that is exactly what they were doing, and that is exactly what is happening today. The American colonists knew that their right to defend themselves and be armed meant that they were the masters of their destiny, not government. Elected officials are the servant of the people, not the other way around. As Patrick Henry stated, the Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government. Without the Second Amendment, we the citizens cannot have power over our government. But today, the danger we face to our freedom and liberty is a government that ignores the Constitution. We are witnessing an administration that abuses executive orders, an administration that has unelected bureaucrats initiating legislation and regulation where it has no right to do so. We have those in academia who argue for the case of abolishing our Constitution, and we have a completely dishonest media. In today's media and journalists no longer challenge government. Instead, they repeat the administration's talking points. And what they won't tell you is that while we will fight for our right to keep and bear arms, we pray in earnest that we will never be afforded the opportunity to use them. As our founding fathers, you stood strong on righteousness and principle, and we will do the same. We will not go quietly along with these proposed pieces of legislation. In the words of Winston Churchill, never give in. Never, never, never. If you will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all odds against you and only a small chance of survival. There may be even a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope for victory, because it is better to perish than live as slaves.
Yeah!
We will peacefully fight this battle every day for our freedom and liberty, for our Constitution, and for our Second Amendment. And we, the people, will make the ultimate determination of that battle in New Jersey on Election Day, November 5th, 2013. I want to thank you again. It's been an honor. God bless all of us, and God bless our great republic. Thank you. Frank just wanted me to let you know the radio show is Common Sense, and it's on Blog Talk Radio. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sue Ann. Well, I didn't mean to imply that Ainsley did not bring class to the podium, because that would just be wrong. This next gentleman, you know, there's so much I could say about Al. I met Al early on when we were just getting started, and he also befriended me, and I met him as the legislative committee chairman of the over at Central Jersey Rifle and Pistol, and then I found that he was intimately involved with helping wounded warriors, which was very dear to my heart. This man has a heart as big as the sky and a mouth just as big. So I'm going to let him talk, and I'm going to let him tell you about what we're here for.
Frank, you embarrassed me. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you what a pleasure it is to be standing here looking out on a sea of patriots. I am just sorry that you all cannot stand here and see this sight. All the way back out to the street and probably around the corners. It's amazing. You're standing here in the rain, in the cold, in the wind. God bless you all. I'm going to take a little segue, get something out important before I give you the red meat. Right? I'd like to speak about constitutional sheriffs. Almost nobody knows the county sheriff is your last line of defense. The last person to protect your rights. Over 200 sheriffs around the country have stood up and said, no, we are not going to comply. People like Sheriff Mack, people like Sheriff Arpaio, and it was a real treat to see the county sheriff in Milwaukee taking on the mayor of Milwaukee. And I'm going to be racist here. It's even better it was a black sheriff. We have a sheriff's project we're working on here in New Jersey. Monmouth County Tea Party, the Tea Party Coalition. You have to forgive me, I'm ADD. I have to look at this because I'll forget the names. Right? East Jersey Tea Party, Shore Tea Party. Right? Go on stopnewjerseycorruption.com. Find out about this. Or go on the Jersey Tea Party Coalition to find out about it. We need to get in sync with our sheriffs. We need to speak with our sheriffs. And we have to make sure that the sheriffs understand that they are there to protect we, the people who elected them. They are not there to protect politically connected people when they're doing wrongdoing and look the other way and just do sheriff sales so they can take your house for taxes. Right? They are there to protect us. Now, the good stuff. On September 11th, 19 Islamic terrorists hijacked 4 airliners. They used those airliners as flying bombs, and they murdered about 3,000 of our citizens. About 2,700 of them were not but an hour and a half from here. What did we do in response to this? Did we ban airliners? No. Did we ban Muslims from flying on airliners? No. Hell, we didn't even ban Muslims from coming over here and studying nuclear physics. I'm serious. We have this tragedy in Connecticut. Does the president say every state ought to put armed guards? I'm sorry. Should every state put armed guards in the schools? First thing we did is we tightened airport security and we put armed guards on the planes. Why doesn't the president demand we put armed guards in the schools? It's simple, ladies and gentlemen. He's a phony liberal. I want you to help me on this. When I say those last 2 words, I want you to say them with me. It's because he's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal. They mentioned 2 of my favorite senators, Dianne Feinstein, Chucky Schumer. Throw them out! Feinstein and Schumer have concealed carry, but they don't believe you should be allowed concealed carry. Why is that? It's because they are phony liberals. They are phony liberals. I'd like to speak about the governor of New York, Andy Cuomo. This was about as shameful a political exercise as I have ever seen. Shame on you, Andy. What we witnessed was Andy Cuomo using the shooting in Connecticut to kick off his 2016 presidential campaign. Andy Cuomo is talking about how important it is to ban these assault weapons, right? I was going to bring and brandish an assault weapon. I was going to hold up a Louisville Slugger, right? The same type of assault weapon that was used in Connecticut. The Louisville Slugger and that AR, they are both semi-automatic. I went and I checked the FBI statistics. Any of you can do this. Just go online. Pull up the FBI. You can see their crime statistics. The last full year we have full data on, 2011. There was something like 774 homicides in New York State in 2011. Guess how many were committed by long guns? 5. Not even 1%. Not even 1%. Why is the governor of New York, Andy Cuomo, talking about assault rifles when not even 1% of the homicides in New York State in 2011 were committed with long guns? He's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal.
Stop the madness. Vote him out.
People in this country are murdered by illegal aliens every single day. Women in this country are raped by illegal aliens every single day. Children in this country are molested by illegal aliens every single day. How come we don't hear Andy Cuomo talking about stopping illegal aliens? Why? Because he's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal. He's a phony liberal. So far, the big guy has at least been smart enough to stand back and say we have enough laws. I don't know where he's going to go from here. I hope he continues that tact. I hope he doesn't stick his finger in the wind and say, well, for 2016, if I want to run for president, I got to get on his bandwagon. But I want to impart this information to Governor Christie. I want to impart this information to our legislators behind us. Those same FBI statistics for 2011. Guess how many homicides were committed in New Jersey in 2011 with long guns? One. The next time you hear one of these legislative sons of bitches say that we need to stop these assault rifles, you take that one and you shove it up their ass. Ladies and gentlemen, they took my thunder on this with the oath of office. Actually, let me do this properly because you deserve it. Every one of you who served in the armed forces, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service. Every one of us who served stepped forward. We raised our right hand. We took an oath to protect and defend this country, the Constitution. It wasn't an oath to protect Obama. It wasn't an oath to protect George Bush. It wasn't an oath to protect Ronald Reagan. or Eisenhower or FDR. It was an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States. Every one of our elected officials takes that same oath to protect the Constitution of the United States. Every one of our federal judges, every one of our Supreme Court judges takes that same oath to protect the Constitution of the United States. When you see these bums making these anti-constitutional bills, when you see these justices make these anti-constitutional rulings, they are violating their oath of office.
Impeach! Lock him up!
Ladies and gentlemen, I watched Supreme Court Justice Sandra Sotomayor at her Senate hearings, right? I watched Sandra Sotomayor, when asked about the Second Amendment, lie out her ass. Why? Because she's a phony liberal. She's a phony liberal. She's a phony liberal. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how great it is to see you all here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As advertised, Al Dolce.
We've heard from the men, the women, and the veterans. Let's get a round of applause for all the kids who came out here today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I know you guys are all cold and you want to get out of here, so we're going to just move along real quick. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your fortitude and your resolve. We're going to need it. I want to introduce to you someone that you may remember, conservative congressional candidate David Larsen. I'm going to introduce him to you now and let him speak for himself. David? Okay.
He's staying dry.
How you doing, guys and ladies? Hey, one thing you gotta do, you gotta go up and down like this like you deer hunting, remember? Keep your toes warm. That's what you gotta do. Anyway, it's so encouraging to see so many of you activists here today. I tell you what, there is definitely a hope for America because of people like you. God bless you. I'm gonna be a little sarcastic at first. I'm gonna say, forget about gun control. Let's control doctors first. Do you know there's over 700,000 doctors in the United States? And there are 120,000 accidental deaths on the cause of doctors each year. Now let's think about this. There's over 80 million gun owners in America. How's that? Right? It's great, right? Do you know there's only 1,500 accidental deaths by guns? Only 1,500 out of 80 million. Now, statistically, doctors are approximately 9,000 times more dangerous than a gun owner. Now, not everyone owns a gun, but everyone's going to see a doctor one day, right? Think about that. So we must alert our friends and our families immediately so this threat doesn't go any further. We must look to ban doctors. By the way, because of public safety, I'm not even going to get into the statistics about lawyers, because that might send a shockwave and people might run for medical attention. And I'm not going to let that happen, because I love you guys. Anyway, Patrick Henry once said, "Is life so dear, is peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what the course others may do, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Fortunately, we have not come to that chapter in our present American history, and I pray we never ever do. We have the power of ballots over bullets, and we need to strive to educate the uninformed voters of their direct and corporate consequences of their ignorances. Just because we have been so-called enlightened and become much more civilized does not guarantee the prohibiting for a tyrant or tyrannical governing bodies from grasping power and progressively deleting our freedoms and our liberties. Thank God our founding fathers identified our rights as being ordained by our Creator, a much higher power than government, who government is also accountable to, by the way, because if our rights were guaranteed by our government, then the government, or created by our government, then our government can take them away. That would destroy what we personally know or obtain as our American dream. You know, in order to successfully ratify the Constitution, due to the concerns of the powers granted to the different governing bodies, the Federalists and Anti-Federalists agreed to add additional language to guarantee the citizens of our God-given rights. That resulted in the first 10 amendments, which is known as our Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, of course, is guaranteeing our freedom of religion, the press, speech, and also, like we're doing here today, to assemble peaceably, and the right to petition our government. That's right. Our Second Amendment right is the right to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed. However, our present executive branch, along with many in the legislative and judicial branches, have purposely decided to cherry-pick and circumvent some of our God-given rights and replace them with their radical agendas. That's right. Now, Richard Henry Lee, who is a signer of the Declaration of Independence and also a crafter of the Second Amendment, wrote, "To preserve liberty, it is essential that the whole body of the people possess arms and be taught alike, especially when young, how to use them." That's right. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So I looked up the words arms and infringed. Noah Webster defines the meaning of arms as all types of weapons, and infringed not to violate, break, destroy, or hinder. You know, there was a point in American history when the citizens of our country were entrusted by the governing bodies to guarantee our own rights. Our founders, through personal family experiences, most certainly did not trust in either the state or federal governing bodies to remain faithful by just signed pieces of paper. As distasteful as this may sound to some here, they intended that the citizens should have the opportunity to own the same weapons as the enforcing bodies. So if and when the legislators deter from the Constitution, the people have the ability to react. That was their intent.
Sorry.
Now, the proverbial, "you do not bring a knife to a gunfight," summarizes the intent of our founders quite well. But the underlying intent of many in our contemporary government, using unfortunate and unpreventable events, knowing not ever to let a good crisis go to waste, has visions of you, the villagers, with only pitchforks, shovels, and hoes, attempting to stand against a well-armed government force. If the patriots during our past history did not have access to weapons of equal firepower, our history may have been written much differently. Long live the Queen.
Their own country.
The point is very simple. Criminals do not intend or desire to cooperate. Their intent is to achieve their evil desires and results that they plan, without regard to any person, written law, displayed signs, moral convictions, consequences, or whatever. You know, over the years, the knee-jerk reactions of our legislators have resulted in many freedoms and liberties being trampled and put by the wayside, and unfortunately, I don't think may ever be reinstated. The proverbial saying, if guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns, is a true statement. Not only includes our weapons, but the accessories that accompany our weapons.
That's right.
Laws and regulations instituted only affect good, law-abiding citizens, and in many cases promote only the illusion of preventing unwanted situations. We have witnessed cowards arming themselves and going into gun-free zones to induce maximum amount of terror and destruction on indefensible citizens. How ironic, a gun-free zone. Like that's gonna stop a murderer. Gun-free zones means even if you have properly permitted to carry a firearm, you cannot have one on those premises, nor within a certain distance from that premises. You want to talk about fish in a barrel? Well, there you go. You know, I was once asked by a reporter if I had a gun in the house. I said, heck yeah. She then said, do I keep it loaded? I said, absolutely, because it doesn't work that well without bullets. She proceeded to ask me if I was afraid if someone evil was going to break in and harm my family. I said, no, not particularly, but I'm also not afraid if I have a fire, if my house burns down, but I keep fire extinguishers around, and you know what? They're all loaded, too. So let me close with this. President Ronald Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Or one day, we may spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children of what it was once like in these great United States where men and women were free. God bless you. God
bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you, David. We're not going to let that happen, folks. We're not going to let that happen. All right, you guys have been wonderful, and I love you. And I got to ask you just one more favor. If there's any garbage around you, we're going to have guys walking around with plastic contractor bags, okay? Just find somebody, put the garbage in the bag. We want to leave this squad as the same way we found it. It was clean when we got here. We want to leave it clean when we leave. So I ask you to do that. And also, we're not leaving yet. We still have another speaker or two. I just wanted to remind you that people are going to be going through with us. Don't put contributions in the garbage bags. Thank you. We have buckets for those. Okay, I'd like to introduce to you a man that you may be familiar with. I'm sure you've heard the name Qarmout. He has run, he's a conservative political advocate and candidate. And let me just get this down here. Okay. Bader graduated from Sussex County Vocational Technical High School and was the recipient of the Superintendent Roundtable Award for Leadership in 1987. He received his Associates of Arts degree on psychology from County College of Morris in 1989. Bader received his bachelor's in psychology with a minor in political science from the University of Hawaii in Hilo in 1991. He later received a master's degree in social work with a drug counseling minor from Rutgers University. Bader has always been interested in politics, but the past few years have led him to feel frustrated and angry at what he sees happening to the country he loves so much. Bader says, the America that my parents gave me is not the same America that I'm giving to my children. It was that country, it was that realization which motivated Bader to run for office. According to Bader, we must reclaim our country and return to our founding principles. Bader Qarmout.
Yeah!
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Patriots. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen,
gentlemen, before you applaud for anyone else, I'd like you to look at that left corner. There's a flag, POW-MIA flag. I would like to thank the gentleman that is holding that flag for bringing it today and remembering our fallen and escaped brothers. Thank you. Well, I'd like to also thank Frank and the New Jersey Second Amendment Society for the invitation, and I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Bader Qarmout, and I stand with you to protect our Second Amendment rights. We must not allow them to replace our rights with laws. We all know about the Second Amendment and the Bill of Rights, but before the Bill of Rights, we have the Constitution, and before the Constitution, we have the Declaration of Independence. And 13 months before that Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress wrote a document called the Declaration of the Causes and the Necessity of Taking Up Arms. It explains why Americans were at war with the English government of the colonies. This document was needed. Woo. This wind and rain is something else. This document was needed because the colonists would not submit their unregistered assault weapons to the government of control of Lexington and Concord, as was mentioned earlier.
Good.
In order to retain their natural rights, Americans were forced to take up arms. 25,000 Americans died carrying unregistered assault rifles in the 8 years of war that established American independence. The document states, the arms we have been compelled by our enemies to assume, we will employ for the preservation of our liberties, being with one mind resolved to die free men rather than to live as slaves. The Declaration of Independence declares that each man has natural rights that emanate from God. These natural rights are for the individual and cannot be separated from the individual. By establishing a republic, not a democracy. Democracy, Karl Marx says, is the path to communism. We are a republic. By establishing a republic, our founding fathers declared unalienable rights for each individual that cannot be altered by civil laws. The natural rights listed and protected by the Bill of Rights existed before government and in no way depend on government for their existence. Laws are by men. Rights are by God. We must not allow them to replace our rights with laws. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say three things. One, we must protect the innocents. We must make sure, and for me personally, that includes the sanctity of life. But we must make sure our schools, homes, workplaces, and our public places are safe. A gun-free school zone makes schools a soft target and puts our kids at risk. We must and should maintain at minimum the same protection to our kids as we do to our money and to our politicians. The second thing we must do and we need is to make sure that we punish the guilty and that we have services for the mentally ill. Parents must not be in denial of their children's mental health and medication needs. Our kids have enough friends. They need parents who are engaged and willing to be parents. I am talking about parental and individual rights. We also need to defend liberty. We must not allow government to take our rights away and replace them with laws, because our rights are from God, God-given rights. To disarm Americans is the goal of the liberal left, and they will do it slowly, but we must not allow it. We cannot protect the Constitution if they weaken it. Their goal is to continue to weaken the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, we must defend the Constitution, because if they continue to weaken it, the Constitution will be too weak to defend us. We must protect the innocent, punish the guilty, and be able to know the difference. We must defend the constitutional liberty, because to punish the innocent along with the guilty is no justice at all. Let me say that again in case someone in the building behind me is listening. We must defend the Constitution and liberty, because to punish the innocent along with the guilty is no justice at all. I am here for the same reasons that you are. That is to protect this nation and give to my children the very same nation with liberties and freedoms that my parents risked life and limb to come to. You and I are the last line of defense of freedom and liberty. You and I are the Minutemen. We are the militia. The Greek philosopher Aristotle, 2,300 years ago, said the prevalence of privately owned weapons were the best indicator of whether a nation is free. It's still true today, because free men own guns. Slaves do not. The United States Federal Code says the militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males 17 years of age. That's us. Black's Law Dictionary defines militia as the body of citizens in the state, and not the regular troops of a standing army. The militia is distinctly different from the National Guard.
Yes, it is.
Let me just tell you a little quote by a professor from the 1800s by the name of Alexander Tytler. He talked about and described how societies change over time. He says societies go from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance. So liberty leads to prosperity, from abundance to complacency, from complacency to apathy, from apathy to dependence, and from dependence back to bondage. Where would you say America is today? Are we at apathy, dependency, heading towards bondage? As our founding fathers warned us, the demise of the militia would spell the end of freedom and liberty. Will you be silent and allow that to happen?
No!
I, for one, will not. I am the militia. Are you the militia?
Yeah!
We are the militia, and united we stand. That should be our battle cry. We are the militia.
We are the militia.
And united we stand.
United we stand.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to be here today. Rain or sun, hell or high water, I would be here today with you. Thank you so much. God bless America.
Thank you, Mater. Excuse me. All right, so all of these people here, we're you. But I've got a gentleman here by the name of John Willett, who some of you will know, some of you don't know, but he is one of you. He's a citizen, he's a veteran, and he's a patriot. I want to introduce to you Mr. John Willett.
I don't know about you guys from where you're standing, but from here, it's a beautiful day to be in the state capitol. I wanted to come here today to add a few comments of my own, and I hope this is going to be a turning point for our state. Lawful firearms owners have a special relationship with their communities. It is exhibited by the understanding we each have that we are responsible for the welfare of ourselves and our loved ones. For quite some time now, members of the media and gun control advocates have been attacking so-called gun culture, attempting to portray our interests as in agreement with those of criminals and madmen. In fact, we use our knowledge and resources to provide for the general welfare of our neighbors through our associations. In 2002, Hunters Helping the Hungry donated over 20,000 pounds of venison to food banks across this state. Through the Friends of the NRA, gun owners support programs that certify police training instructors and the Eddie Eagle Gun Safe program for kids. And I want to know when the illegal mayors against guns have ever done anything for their communities except for install paid lobbyists and city government. Beyond our activities as a group, individual gun owners commit their time and energy to making us all safe. Members of our police departments and the military are populated largely by those who own firearms separate from their service. And certified trainers like our recently departed friend and a fellow Marine, Arthur Barton, dedicate vast amounts of their time to promote and teach the safe handling of firearms. From all this, I take away two things. Gun advocates do not get to define who we are. And second, the state of New Jersey needs to recognize the difference between criminals and lawful firearm owners.
Thank you, John, very much. All right, I have one more speaker, and then we're going to wrap this up. So just bear with us for just one more. Joe Rudy Rullio. Joe?
How's everybody doing out there today? Let's get some energy. The last speaker, come on. Woo! I'm here for two reasons. One, to support the Second Amendment. The second is to tell Washington and those liberal Democrats we can't take it anymore. Today I join hardworking, law-abiding, constitutional-following, patriotic Americans in assembly with the freedom to speak at our state's capital in the great state of New Jersey, protected by our First Amendment by God. The right to not only speak, but to assemble as one to fight with peaceful debate of why our government should not take away our Second Amendment rights to bear arms. The same government that is beholden and swears upon Bible to follow and obey the United States Constitution is considering infringing on the rights of law-abiding, sane, patriotic Americans to restrict their rights in the Second Amendment. The same government and president who draft you in times of war, forcing you to bear arms to kill in the name of freedom and security of the United States, is taking away your Second Amendment rights here at home. They expect us to die and fight for this country, which we will, but then they want to take our weapons when we come home. The same government that has failed to focus on thousands of illegal guns circulating in the streets, like in Trenton here, focuses on law-abiding, sane citizens exercising their rights to protect their families from the same. The same government that has failed to show courage to eradicate gangs, killing thousands in the inner cities where many of these anti-Second Amendment politicians come from, instead focuses on the rights of the upstanding citizens who protect our country, like all of you law-abiding citizens. God bless you. The same government has failed to implement an immediate plan to stop the aggressive pattern of young adults going on killing sprees in schools, is refusing to consider right to carry for teachers and administration, temporary military presence, or police. No, just more laws to destroy the Second Amendment. Yet, does everybody remember Obama saying, anything just to save one life? Anything to save one life. But then he bashes the NRA because they want to stop the killing before June. They should have military presence in that school between now and June. Any death that occurs has nothing to do with guns, has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. It has to do with stupidity by our government not following a pattern that our children are being stalked upon like sheep by wolf. The same government that wants to railroad an outdated bill from 1994 to appease liberal Senator Feinstein and her Second Amendment gang like Menendez and Lautenberg destroys and drowns out the voices crying out to fix the existing laws this government has failed to execute. The same government that has legislated laws to the point of dictatorship, like in New Jersey, where you can't legally protect yourself in your own home from murderers without fear of spending the rest of your life in prison to protect your family. The same government that expects you to wait to be killed or hopes you can run fast enough to stay alive rather than trusting law-abiding, sane Americans to carry and conceal and stand their ground to protect the life God gave you and your family. The same government that refuses to acknowledge it has failed with the strictest laws in the United States in cities where gun laws are amongst the strictest in nations like Trenton here, Chicago, Newark, and Camden. In New Jersey, more laws will work. They're just insanity.
Right. Yeah.
The same government that doesn't enforce its current laws, like half the mental illness background checks that are not followed up and sent to its appropriate reporting agency, expect more and more failed legislation. Maybe the legislators need to be on medication because they're insane. It just ain't working. The same government that doesn't want to secure a nation where it is expected to have accountability for your children, teaching them, thou shalt not kill, is unwilling to face tough issues at hand to fix the problem and to love God Almighty and to trust His ways. The same government that has failed to win a drug war, enabled illegal immigration, gave it to prohibition, and won't face the people, not the guns, who waste their God-given talents on this earth. That's all they want is their 15 minutes of fame for mass murder. The same government that is corrupt, makes laws that they don't follow, intentionally works to destroy the Second Amendment, and expects the respect of debate from law-abiding patriotic Americans to take away their God-given Second Amendment right like you fine folks here. Now, I say to the government, follow the Constitution, giving Americans their God-given Second Amendment rights, and stop being the government that has failed this nation the same. Yeah. Two, I say to our government, stop blaming everyone and everything in the name of the Second Amendment rights, and focus your blame and allocate resources on the few that kill our children to make change in the state of mental health, take gangs off the streets, and be champions of family values. Yeah. Alas, I say to our government, do what you have been elected to do and save our nation from crushing debt, high taxes, and actually pass a budget and follow the very laws that you make and swear by in the United States Constitution. Thank you for coming out today. God bless you. God bless America, and fight for the Second Amendment. God bless you. And God bless Frank Fiamingo for doing this today.
Thank you, Joe. Just a joke. You know what? I want to thank you, and this gentleman has something to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, very simple. Gun owners are the most respectful, most accountable group of people. If you ever want to have, you all. I just walked around with a garbage bag, and we were picking cigarette butts up off the floor and garbage that we might not have even put there. It is awesome. You ever want to meet a nicer group of people? Gun owners are respectful and accountable and responsible. Thank you.
All right, we have a suggestion, and I like it. My voice is not the best, so you're going to have to bear with me. I hope you'll drown me out as we sing together, God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you all so much. What a wonderful crowd. You guys are fantastic. Safe home, everybody. Take it easy, thanks, be careful, and we'll see you again here soon.
All right. Need help?